We are just days away from the Women's T20 World Cup in South Africa. And of course, the big day, likely to be 13th of February, the inaugural Women's Premier League auction. And at the center of both is, of course, the Indian women's cricket team and the individuals who make up the unit. We, as in Shweta Haranhalli, former Mumbai captain and resident expert at cricket.com, and myself, Annesha Ghosh, have our eyes firmly set on India women, and we are going to talk about their fortunes at the recently concluded Triangular Series, and of course, the upcoming World event and the WPL auction. So, without further ado, let's get things underway. The Tri Series, Shweta, India suffered a defeat at the hands of hosts South Africa in the all important game that was the final. What did you make of India's performance and how their fortunes from being the only undefeated side in the tournament, in the Tri Series, to going on to losing yet another mega or big ish final? What did you make of that?
It was a pretty challenging wicket, to be very honest with you. We usually don't see that a lot in T20 cricket. As far as South Africa is concerned, the wickets are actually very conducive for pace bowlers and stroke play. But I was honestly very, very surprised with the wickets, how it behaved in the Tri Series, especially in East London. And if you probably go to see if the conditions are going to be very, very similar in the T20 World Cup, I'm pretty sure a lot of teams are going to struggle. Coming to how India would have, they would have definitely liked to tick this tie series and enter the World Cup with a win under their belt. But most importantly, I think they ticked most of their boxes as far as their batting unit and the top order is concerned. They were missing Shefali Verma. They didn't have the services of Richa Ghosh. But for as far as Harmanpreet Kaur is concerned, I think for Jemima Rodrigues and Harleen Deol to be among stuns is probably a big tick. As far as Indian batting is concerned, the team management would also be pretty pleased with the way I think Pooja Vastrakar bowled in the innings. Apart from the spinners were obviously very dominant in terms of Dipti Sharma, Rajeshwari Gaikwad. But the way Pooja Vastrakar has come back into the team, she was injured for a fairly long period of time, and for her to actually have overs under her belt before we head into the opening clash against Pakistan, I think Harmanpreet Kaur would breathe a little easy before that for sure.
As far as breathing easy is concerned, somebody who would do that very well going into the World Cup is Chloe Tryon, because she seemed to have been batting on an entirely different pitch. Sune Luz, the South Africa captain, said again at the post-match interview that it felt like they were batting against India on an Indian pitch. But Chloe Tryon, wow, that was some half century from the South African all rounder. She has definitely made potential bidders at the WPL auction sit up and take notice because, as you rightly said, it was an immensely difficult pitch to bat on. But she just, took her time and then started finding the gaps at will. And then, of course, given the big hitting prowess, she wheels. She was able to literally tonk the bowlers all over the park and was the was head and shoulders above pretty much every other batter across the two teams. But that's something that India would also be wary of, because if on a pitch like that somebody is able to dictate terms like that, should should India ask themselves whether they played a thing or two, a trick or two wrong, and probably that's something for them to chew on as they head into the World Cup practice games. They have two practice matches lined up. They play one on Monday and the other against Bangladesh. The first one is against, of course, Australia. The one on the 8th is against Bangladesh. What are your thoughts on this kind of curious squad makeup that they have? Because it was asked during the post-final presser if a if an Anjali Sarvani or or anyone else was injured. Turns out nobody is right now. Yes, Harmanpreet of course did pick up a bit of a shoulder injury, but she seems to be doing all right for the information shared by Deepti Sharma. at the post-final presser. But your thoughts on Sneh Rana, being relegated to the reserves and potentially going on to miss the World Cup?
I think Sneh Rana is the curious case of Indian cricket. I was very disappointed when she couldn't make it to the squad for the World Cup. She was obviously part of the Tri Series, but she is not in the squad for the World Cup. She's part of the reserve. And with Harmanpreet Kaur actually playing her ahead of Radha Yadav in this particular series, just probably goes on to show the confidence she has. Not very sure about what is there any injury issues with Radha. We probably wouldn't know about it as well. But if she's playing ahead of Radha, who is part of the World Cup squad, it actually sends a wrong message to the other players as well as to where the team management is heading. And after looking at the wickets in South Africa, I'm pretty sure the team management would be thinking, is it the right decision to actually not have her in the squad? Because apart from her bowling abilities, apart from her off spin ability, she also contributes a lot with the bat. And India has struggled as far as batting is concerned in this series. It obviously is down to the wickets, and it's not very conducive for hard hitting batters like Smriti. And obviously, with Shefali coming in, it's not going to be easy for her as well. But it is always nice to have extra cushion of 15-20 runs lower down the order. And I think Sneha Rana as an all round package is something that India would definitely miss. India is going to definitely miss that as far as the selection is concerned.
India and South Africa are obviously going to be two of the front runners to be in contention for lifting the T20 World Cup that begins later this week. But who are the other teams, in your opinion, Shweta, who could be a threat to the dominance of Australia's? Because we know England are going to field a full strength squad, a full strength team, thanks to the return of their designated captain, Heather Knight, who missed out the previous major event in the T20 format, which was the Birmingham 2022 Commonwealth Games. Do England stand a chance to be on par with Australia's awesomeness?
England will definitely be one of the four teams that will qualify for the knockout stages of the tournament. In any world event, Australia, it's given that Australia enter the tournament as one of the favorites along with India, purely because obviously of the performances they have had in the past, but also because both India and Australia have a well rounded team with most of their bases covered. For the Australian side, they are the defending champions. They won the Commonwealth Games, and with Meg Lanning back in the side, refreshed, recharged, it just makes Australian team a lot more formidable. We've also understood that Alisa Healy will be back for the first game, so it's a full strength Australian squad that will come out for their opening clash. So they are one of the teams to definitely watch out for. India, obviously, with Shefali Verma and Richa Ghosh coming into the side, it has bolstered their batting unit. They know the taste of what it is to win a world title, and I'm pretty sure that that's going to rub on to all the other Indian teammates and inspire them to actually go a step further. Coming back to England, pretty sure that they will be one of the top four teams. The only concern for me would be that if wickets in South Africa continue to be slow and sluggish, England have a top heavy or a top order that is full of right handers, and they want to take the attack to the opposition. In a situation like this, if the ball doesn't come onto the bat, I think England would struggle. So wickets will also be a key factor for New Zealand and England as far as their tactics are concerned, because you see Sophie Devine, Susie Bates at the top for New Zealand. They love the ball coming onto the bat. They love pace on the ball. South Africa is originally known to have pitches that are conducive for batting and assisting a bit of pace bowlers, but unfortunately we haven't seen that in the Tri Series. So it actually depends a lot on the wicket, but England would definitely be one of the teams in the top four.
And for India to get things right, a lot will also depend on one of their top performers. Again, a spin bowling all rounder, and that's Deepti Sharma, who finished as the player of the series, the Tri Series. And as you rightly mentioned, given there has been a hint of turn in pretty much all of the East London pitches they played, and Port Elizabeth is also set to be on the slightly sluggish side, where India will play at least one or a couple of league stage matches in Cape Town. Who knows what sort of pitch the curator might end up making there. But a lot will depend on Deepti Sharma as far as India's
Yeah.
fortunes at the T20 World Cup go, and if some of the part timers can go on to contribute to India's bowling the way, say, Devika Vaidya has, who has sort of taken a frontline leg spin bowling all rounders role, but probably Harmanpreet herself could have a role to play, subject to her fitness, the shoulder, which wasn't quite all right from the looks of it during the final. So part timers could end up playing a big role, and how India go on to formulating or structuring their pace bowling unit is also going to be interesting because there is of course Shikha Pandey,
Yeah.
Pooja Vastrikar, Anjali Sarvani, but will they consistently back their spinners in the bid to win their maiden major title, at least for India women, the senior team? I mean, that remains to be seen. But yes, spinners spot on, Shweta. Good could go on to take up more wickets than pacers across teams
Yeah.
at this World Cup. And who knows, Jess Johnson could be leading the bowling charts, or an Ashley Gardner. Of course, there's Sophie Eccleston in England, and we have Amelia Kerr in New Zealand, who could again get immense purchase of the slow surfaces should the pitches in Port Elizabeth, in Cape Town, and Paul go on to be on the slower side. That's an interesting talking point that will grow and gather more steam as the World Cup begins and gets into its business end. There's, of course, a lot of time before the T20 World Cup bandwagon moves into its business stage. We'll have a lot of time to dissect all of it. But the business that we might get to much sooner is the business of the Women's Premier League and the business of the Women's Premier League auction, which is likely to take place as things stand on February 13th. And before that happens, a couple of franchises have already sent out very strong messaging through the appointment of their coaching staff members. And among them, foremost are, of course, the Adani Group owned Ahmedabad team, the Gujarat Giants, who've roped in, as we already knew a couple of, or at least a week ago, Mithali Raj as mentor and advisor. But they've gotten Noshin Al Khadir, former Australia captain Rachel Haynes, as well in the mix. And of course, most latest of the teams to have got together a star-studded coaching lineup is the Mumbai team. The Mumbai Indians have got former England captain as head coach, former India captain Julian Goswami as bowling coach, and former India all-rounder and assistant coach Devika Palshikar as the batting coach. What do you make of all of the messaging that are being sent out by these franchises as far as uh, putting together their coaching staff personnel is concerned? I mean, I am looking at Mumbai Indians as making no sort of, or leaving no stone unturned to let the other franchises know that look, we are here to get Smriti Mandhana on board because Smriti Mandhana has worked with
Yeah.
Charlotte Edwards at Southern Brave at the 100. She's also had a lot of interactions, in fact, during the KSL, the two of them. Julian Goswami has already played under Smriti Mandhana during the Women's T20 Challenge. And of course, they share an immensely good rapport as now what they would call themselves as former teammates. And Devika Pashikar has also had a significant role to play in Smriti Mandhana's career. They're both from Maharashtra, and Devika Pashikar has literally seen a very young, the child version of Smriti Mandhana evolve into the superstar that she is. But your thoughts, Shweta, on the coaching appointments we've seen come through in the recent days?
I mean, it is a star-studded lineup. The coaching staff, isn't it? With Charlotte Edwards appointed as a head coach, it was a given that Mumbai would definitely go all out for Smriti Mandhana because they've worked together in the women's 100 for Southern Brave, and they have a lot of mutual admiration for one another. Uh, I'm pretty sure that this is going. Smriti Mandhana is definitely going to be going to Mumbai. If I can say that, as far as their coaching, as far as their appointments are concerned, but to have someone like Julan Goswami as a bowling coach, I think for the young bowlers coming into the ranks, it will probably do a world of good to have someone sharing 2 decades of experience at the international level. It is just going to help Indian cricket grow by leaps and bounds. And for Devika, I mean, I've seen her from close quarters. She was the coach of Mumbai when I was leading. Tactically, she's very very strong, and I think what she brings to the table is a lot of calmness around. So, and she's obviously seen Spriti from close quarters when they were playing for Maharashtra. So all in all, I think Mumbai, it is a star-studded lineup, but it also depends on how the players execute their plans. With Gujarat, I'm pretty sure Nushin Alkadir, everybody's seen what she's done with the under 19 team. Tushar Arote as a batting coach, he was part of the Indian team in 2017 when they reached the finals of the World Cup. Rachel Haynes, I mean, I'm not pretty sure how much of an experience as far as coaching is concerned she'll get to the table, but she was part of the leadership group of Australia, and they pretty much dominated women's cricket for almost a decade. So I think two powerhouses as far as coaching setups are concerned, but it will actually come down to how the players execute their plans.
And it's also going to be interesting how the symbiotic exchange of ideas between, the overseas recruits on the coaching staff happens with the Indian counterparts, as you rightly said, a Charlotte Edwards, brainstorming with a Julan Goswami,
Yeah.
Mithali Raj, Noshin Al-Khadi, Tushar Arote, and Rachel Hens getting together to draw up their strategies and plans. That is what a tournament like the WPL is going to be about, isn't it? And I think
Yeah.
everybody part of the women's cricket ecosystem had been looking forward to a day like this, where appointments of this stature, of this profile, are made in women's cricket as well, where you have a great mix of foreign and domestic talent coming through, not just in the playing group, but also in the coaching setup as well. And it really stands to be immensely beneficial to the players, especially the uncapped domestic players who are going to be picked. And who knows, the grassroots set up both in Mumbai and Gujarat and all of the other teams. We are yet to know what the coaching setup of the rest of the three teams are going to look like. But if this is the template that the other teams also go by, have a great mix of overseas talent and also Indian players in the mix. I think it's going to be an interesting structure overall for the inaugural WPL to boast as far as recruiting the top professionals, top coaching personnel there can be in a tournament of this kind, especially in its launch year. And just going back to what you said, and even I touched upon, as far as Mumbai's coaching staff personnel picks are concerned, I think now that they've sort of sent out feelers to the rest of the franchises regarding who their captaincy pick could be, who their marquee player could be, and we are talking about Smriti Mandana, of course. It is also very much possible that Delhi franchises like Delhi and RCB in specific are going to really make life difficult for Mumbai at the auction table, because I mean, it's a no-brainer, right? And they will
Yeah.
try their best to burn a big hole in the pockets of Mumbai Indians before they eventually relinquish their desire to get Smriti Mandhana and actually let her be bought by the Mumbai Indians. But I think it would be a good ploy if
Yeah.
Mumbai do end up getting Smriti Mandhana. I do not really see Gujarat Giants bidding for a Harmanpreet Kaur, to be honest. Strictly going by my study, my investigation around Indian women's cricket in specific over the past few years, it could be so that Harmanpreet ends up going to one of Delhi or RCB. I'm pretty sure, given these are established franchises, they
Yeah.
will look to get somebody really with that with as big a profile as Harmanpreet to come on board as their captain. What happens to a team like Lucknow? Will they go for a potential left field choice, or uh, a foreign player? That is also going to be something worth keeping an eye on. But final thoughts, Shweta,
Oh,
on
will
this?
they probably go for Dipti Sharma?
Should, right? I mean, Uttar
They
Pradesh.
should. I mean, they should. I
Why
mean,
not?
I feel most of the teams would probably want to bank on their local talent. Smriti's been born, played a lot of cricket in Mumbai, so I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up going to Mumbai. She's from Punjab, but she has for her to actually go to Delhi, the fan base and something. I think most of the teams would be looking at that point angle and that point of view as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if Lucknow actually go all out for Dipti Sharma. She's probably the most underrated players in women's cricket, and what she brings to the table with bat, ball, and in the field is something that uh, I wouldn't be surprised if she actually goes for big money in this first ever auction.
In her maiden stint as Women's T20 Challenge following the retirement of Mithali Raj, Deepti Sharma had led Velocity to the final and had ousted, literally eliminated Smriti Mandhana's Trailblazers from the Pune edition of the Women's T20 Challenge. So who knows? Deepti Sharma could end up playing the first ever final of the Women's Premier League as well. And there's a lot of chatter around her and a lot of promotional campaigns being drawn up around Deepti Sharma in the lead up to the T20 World Cup as well, as far as the official broadcasters here in India are concerned. So there's all the reason on the part of potential franchise bidders to look at Deepti Sharma as a top buy on their roster. So here's looking forward to how all of that pans out. We'll definitely dissect the auction on or after it is sorted, it is done with. But for now, that's all we have on this episode of What's Up with Women's Cricket. Make sure to like and subscribe to cricket.com's YouTube channel. And if you have any suggestions or questions or anything to say about any of our predictions around the World Cup or the Women's Premier League auction, please let us know in the comments below on YouTube and wherever you can find us on social media. Thank you very much for watching. See you next week.